What I'm about to tell you about Diana Ross was never meant to be public. The glittering gowns, the record-breaking hits, the flashing cameras, they all created the perfect distraction from what was really happening behind closed doors. Diana Ross ruled music, but at what cost to those around her? The Motown Queen's rise to superstardom is painted as a fairy tale of talent and determination, but my sources have revealed a much darker narrative lurking beneath the sequins and spotlight. Between you and me, the Diana Ross you think you know isn't the full picture. The music industry's best-kept secrets don't stay buried forever. And today, the truth about one of music's most iconic divas will finally be exposed. Before we dive into the bombshells, let me be clear. Diana Ross transformed American music forever. That fact is undeniable. But the methods she used, the relationships she sacrificed, and the deals she made, those are the stories that Motown executives have spent millions trying to keep quiet. I recently spoke with a former Motown insider who worked directly with Berry Gordy during Diana's meteoric rise. What they shared with me left me speechless. According to this impeccable source, Diana's ambition didn't just drive her forward, it bulldozed anyone who stood in her way. Diana wasn't just hungry for fame, my source confided, she was starving for it. And she'd do absolutely anything to be fed. The first shocking revelation comes from the earliest days of the Supremes. While the official story paints Diana as just one equal member who naturally rose to lead vocalist, what my industry sources revealed to me paints a completely different picture. Florence Ballard, an original Supreme with a voice that many insiders considered superior to Diana's, posed a threat that apparently couldn't be tolerated. My source, who was in the recording studio during those pivotal sessions in 1964, confided that Diana secretly rescheduled recording times and accidentally failed to notify Florence, resulting in her missing crucial sessions. But that's nothing compared to what happened next. Diana allegedly struck a private arrangement with Berry Gordy, a relationship that was far more complex than the public ever realized. Their professional partnership quickly evolved into something much more personal, giving Diana unprecedented leverage over group decisions. The tabloids don't know the half of it. My source, who worked directly with Gordy's inner circle, revealed that Diana would regularly visit his office after hours to discuss her career trajectory. During these private meetings, song selections were made, lead vocals were assigned, and slowly but surely, the Supremes became Diana Ross and the Supremes, a transition that devastated Florence and Mary Wilson. They don't want this getting out, but Diana reportedly demanded that sound engineers lower the microphone volumes for the other Supremes during live performances. A former Motown sound technician confirmed to me that he received direct instructions. Make sure Diana is the only voice that can really be heard. This wasn't just about ego, it was calculated career engineering. The truth finally exposed after all these decades is that Florence Ballard's departure from the group wasn't the amicable split that press releases claimed. According to 3 separate sources who witnessed the events firsthand, Diana delivered an ultimatum to Berry Gordy. It's either her or me. Within weeks, Florence was out, replaced by Cindy Birdsong, someone who wouldn't threaten Diana's spotlight. What they've been hiding is the emotional toll this took. Florence, once vibrant and confident, spiraled into depression and alcohol dependency after being pushed out of the group she had helped create. But Florence wasn't the only casualty of Diana's ambition. The Supremes were just the beginning. When Diana set her sights on a solo career, what happened behind the scenes would shock even her most devoted fans. Between you and me, Diana's transition to solo stardom wasn't just about artistic evolution. It was a calculated power play that left the Supremes in ruins. My source, who worked in Motown's publicity department, revealed that Diana intentionally sabotaged the group's final performances together. She would show up late, miss rehearsals, and perform with such obvious disinterest that audiences couldn't help but notice, they told me. It was her way of showing the world that she had outgrown them. And then there's the infamous relationship with Berry Gordy that produced a daughter, Rhonda. While this fact eventually became public, what hasn't been revealed until now is how this relationship was weaponized within Motown. A former executive who requested anonymity shared with me that Diana leveraged her personal connection with Gordy to demand that Motown's top songwriters, producers, and marketing budget be diverted to her solo projects, resources that were stripped away from other deserving artists. Entire careers were sacrificed on the altar of Diana's ambition, my source confided. The 1970s saw Diana transform into a multimedia superstar with her Oscar-nominated performance in Lady Sings the Blues. But the behind-the-scenes reality was far from glamorous. What my Hollywood source revealed to me about Diana's behavior on set makes her later reputation as a diva seem tame by comparison. According to this impeccable source who worked on the production, Diana would refuse to film if her demands weren't met, demands that included having other actors' lines reduced if she felt they outshone her. She wasn't just playing Billie Holiday, my source whispered. She was channeling her own ruthless ambition through the role. Perhaps the most shocking revelation concerns Diana's relationship with Michael Jackson. The public narrative portrays them as music industry friends and collaborators. The truth: their relationship was fraught with professional jealousy and calculated moves. My source, who worked closely with both superstars during the 1980s, revealed that Diana was initially supportive of Michael until his star began to eclipse hers. When Thriller exploded, something changed in Diana, they confided. She began to distance herself, to subtly criticize his choices in private industry gatherings. She couldn't stand that he had achieved what she couldn't, universal adoration that transcended race, gender, and genre. Between you and me, Diana's infamous 1983 Central Park concert, where she performed in a torrential downpour, wasn't just a display of professionalism. According to my source who helped organize the event, Diana had been explicitly advised by multiple weather experts to postpone, but refused because she knew the dramatic footage would cement her legend status. She needed something iconic to compete with Michael's moonwalk, my insider revealed. She was willing to risk pneumonia for the sake of creating a moment that would be replayed for decades. The 1980s brought new challenges as younger artists began dominating the charts. What the tabloids don't know is that Diana's response to this shifting landscape was anything but graceful. A former record executive shared with me that Diana would regularly call radio stations to check how often her songs were being played compared to Whitney Houston and Janet Jackson. If she felt her airplay was insufficient, station managers would receive calls from Motown executives pressuring them to increase her rotation. It was embarrassing, my source admitted. Here was this legend, this icon, essentially begging for airplay while publicly maintaining her regal persona. But that's nothing compared to what happened during the Motown 25 television special in 1983. The reunion of the Supremes was meant to be a triumphant moment in music history. Instead, it became one of the most uncomfortable televised encounters between former bandmates ever recorded. What you saw on screen was tension. What you didn't see was the vicious confrontation that happened backstage just moments before. My source, who was working as a production assistant on the special, was in the dressing room area when voices were raised. Diana refused to let Mary and Cindy stand next to her during the performance, they revealed. She insisted on being front and center, with them positioned as background singers. When Mary protested, Diana allegedly said, "It's my name that sold the tickets. You should be grateful I'm allowing you on stage at all." The truth finally exposed is that Diana's microphone was turned up significantly louder than those of her former groupmates, not by accident, but by explicit demand. She wanted to make sure the audience heard who the real star was, my source confirmed. This moment permanently damaged relationships that had once defined Motown's golden era. They don't want this getting out, but Diana's relationship with her children has been far more complex than her public devoted mother image suggests. A former household staff member who worked for the Ross family during the 1990s shared that Diana's demanding touring schedule and business ventures often left her children feeling abandoned. There were birthdays missed, school events unattended, my source revealed. The children learned early that Diana Ross, the icon, took precedence over Diana Ross, the mother. What they've been hiding is that this created deep-seated emotional issues that would manifest in various ways as her children grew older. The 1990s and 2000s brought fresh challenges as Diana struggled to maintain her relevance in a rapidly changing music landscape. Between You and Me, her infamous 1994 return to Motown was less about artistic homecoming and more about financial necessity. My industry source revealed that Diana's lavish lifestyle had created significant financial pressure, forcing her to sign deals that she would have rejected in her prime. The diva behavior intensified during this period, they confided. It was as if she needed to assert her star power more forcefully, precisely because she felt it slipping away. Perhaps most shocking is what happened during the 2000 Return to Love tour that was meant to celebrate the Supreme's legacy. According to my source who worked on the tour production, Diana demanded 95% of the tour's profits, leaving the remaining 5% to be split between her former groupmates. When Mary Wilson and Cindy Birdsong refused these terms, Diana simply replaced them with newer performers who had never been Supremes, marketing the tour as a reunion, despite the absence of original members. It was the ultimate example of Diana's attitude toward the Supremes' legacy, my source said. In her mind, she was the Supremes, and everyone else was replaceable. The 2007 Kennedy Center Honors should have been a crowning achievement in Diana's career. What my Washington insider revealed to me about her behavior during the ceremony suggests that even in her 60s, the diva demands hadn't mellowed. She complained about everything: her hotel suite, the seating arrangement at the gala dinner, the lighting during her tribute segment, my source disclosed. Several performers who had agreed to participate in her tribute segment considered dropping out because of her treatment of the production staff. But there's another side to Diana Ross that rarely makes headlines. What the public doesn't see is Diana's quiet philanthropy and moments of genuine warmth. A former assistant who worked closely with Diana for 3 years shared something surprising. There were days when she would visit children's hospitals with zero publicity, no cameras, no press releases. She'd spend hours with sick kids, singing to them, holding their hands. Then she'd make everyone present swear never to mention it publicly. This duality, The ruthless ambition alongside genuine compassion makes Diana Ross one of music's most complex figures. Between you and me, Diana's relationships with other music divas have been fraught with private feuds and professional jealousy. My source, who worked at multiple Grammy ceremonies, revealed that Diana and Aretha Franklin maintained a cordial public facade while privately competing for the title of Ultimate Diva. They would request dressing rooms on opposite sides of venues, my insider shared. Staff were instructed never to mention one in the presence of the other. Their mutual respect was genuine, but so was their rivalry. The truth finally exposed about Diana's Las Vegas residencies in recent years is that they weren't the sold-out smashes that press releases claimed. According to my source, who worked at the venue, tickets were often heavily discounted or given away to fill seats. Diana couldn't accept that her drawing power had diminished, they revealed. She would still make outrageous demands: specific room temperatures, particular flowers, special lighting, as if it were still 1970 and she was the biggest star in the world. They don't want this getting out, but Diana's iconic 75th birthday celebration in 2019 nearly didn't happen due to her clashes with producers over creative control. My source, who was part of the production team, shared that Diana threatened to cancel the entire event just days before because she wasn't satisfied with the tribute video montage. She wanted certain chapters of her life, particularly the messier parts of the Supremes' breakup, completely erased from the narrative, they confided. It was as if she was still trying to control her legacy, to rewrite history in her final act. What they've been hiding about Diana's current relationship with her Supremes' past would surprise even her most devoted fans. According to someone in her inner circle, Diana keeps a private room in her home filled with Supremes memorabilia, costumes, gold records, photographs, that she visits when she's feeling reflective. It's like a shrine to a time when she was part of something bigger than herself, my source revealed. In her quieter moments, there seems to be genuine nostalgia, maybe even regret for how certain relationships ended. So where does this leave Diana Ross's legacy? The music is undeniable. Dozens of hit records, groundbreaking performances, and a voice instantly recognizable across generations. But beneath the glittering success lies a trail of fractured relationships, ruthless ambition, and the bodies of careers that were sacrificed to fuel her ascent. My sources suggest that Diana, now in her late 70s, has begun the process of reconciliation with some figures from her past. Private phone calls to former collaborators, quiet financial support for Florence Ballard's children, and attempts to heal old wounds with Mary Wilson before her passing in 2021. There's a sense that Diana is finally reckoning with the full cost of her success, one insider told me. The question is whether it's too little, too late. And now, I'm about to share something that none of my sources expected to reveal. Diana Ross is reportedly working on a memoir that promises to tell her unfiltered truth, including acknowledgments of her role in the Supremes' breakup and her complex relationship with Berry Gordy. My publishing industry source, who has seen portions of the early manuscript, describes it as shockingly candid and potentially explosive for what it reveals about Motown's darkest secrets. If this book is published as written, they whispered to me, it will rewrite music history as we know it. But will the memoir ever see the light of day? My sources tell me that powerful figures in the music industry are already working behind the scenes to suppress certain revelations. There are people who have built entire legacies on carefully constructed myths, my insider explained. Diana's unvarnished truth threatens to bring down more than just her own carefully maintained image. The question remains, Will Diana Ross, in her final act, choose truth over the carefully crafted legend? Will she finally allow the world to see the real woman behind the icon? Complicated, ambitious, sometimes ruthless, but undeniably transformative. Only time will tell if the ultimate diva will finally let the curtain fall and reveal what really happened on her journey through fame, feuds, and an unmatched musical legacy. But one thing is certain, the Diana Ross story is far from over, and the most shocking chapters may still be waiting to be told. If you want to be the first to know when these explosive revelations come to light, make sure you subscribe now. Because between you and me, what I've shared today is just the beginning of the real Diana Ross story. And trust me, what comes next will change how you see one of music's most iconic figures forever. Estimated duration, 10.8 minutes.